guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about, is ICD-9 knowledge required in 2025, and what about ICD-11? If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so sometimes when you're looking at these job listings, sometimes the job listing will say candidate must know ICD-9, and sometimes they'll say candidate must know ICD-9/ICD-10, and then that's confusing because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I only learned ICD-10. Do I have to learn ICD-9? The short answer to this question is no, you do not have to learn ICD-9. What happens is these job listings are templates. So HR will be given a template from the department that says, this is what we want, this is what is required. And sometimes if those templates are not looked at and updated, HR, when they are directed by the department to put out the job listing for that department that they need people, they're going to put out what is on profile for that department. And if that department is not looking at that job listing, that's when you get information out there that is incorrect, like ICD-9 or ICD-9/ICD-10. So with that said, when you see that ICD-9, you are to disregard it. Why? Because no one in the world, in the entire world, uses ICD-9 anymore. Those codes have been retired. They are no longer in use. They are no longer in use for statistical purposes. They are no longer in use for information gathering or any of those things. So with that said, when you see that ICD-9, just ignore it, okay? Because that is HR putting it out and not really knowing what they really need, other than the fact that, hey, we were given this document years ago and we're going to go ahead and put this out. So that's why I say, when you see that, just don't worry about it. There's a lot of things in these job listings that are considered, oh my gosh, no one would ever apply for this job because they only want people with experience. And for my new people, this can be very frustrating because you're saying, well, I've been trained, I know ICD-10, and they're asking for this, and now that I know I don't have to worry about ICD-9, I can go ahead and apply to these positions too, but everybody wants experience. They want experience because these employers are usually in a place of, oh my gosh, we're so far behind, we have to hurry up and catch up, because there's a thing called timely filing with these encounters, right? You have to be able to timely file these claims with the insurance so that they can get paid on time. If an employer hires somebody new, they're going to have their hand held unless that person is already demonstrating that they are very strong and they learned very well when they were in the school or when they were learning by themselves. There's those two options. So when that happens, a lot of times they're going to put it out in that job listing, hey, we want 3 to 5 years experience. That is just about the default on all of these job listings. And people get very frustrated when people like me say, hey, just apply anyway. There's not going to be a rollout of the red carpet for new people. There will never be that. There will never be that, because of the simple fact that when people complain about, oh, well, everybody wants all this experience, and then, how am I supposed to get it if no one wants to hire? And then those people end up getting into leadership. All of a sudden, they start seeing, oh my gosh, if we hired somebody that doesn't really have experience and we're having to train them, this person can just waste our time basically and then just leave us. Well, isn't it y'all's responsibility as veteran coders and health information professionals to train the new people? No, it actually isn't. Whose responsibility that is the school. And the schools will often fail the students time and time again. But this is where I always say, hey, this is where we have to pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, because no one's coming to save you. So if you're in that mindset of thinking that every single job listing that you see is, oh, they want ICD-9 experience, well, I can apply to that. Well, now you know that you can, okay? And then, well, they want experience. Well, I can't apply to that. Well, now you know that you can. Because again, if you are coming in with even no experience and you're coming in with the knowledge and you've got a good grasp of the guidelines, you've got a good grasp of sequencing and the modifiers and evaluation and management, you've got a good grasp of it, sure, you're going to ask questions. Everybody does. But you have a good grasp on it, and then you get in there, and then that's when sometimes these employers don't have a choice. No one is applying because all happy coders in that area are going to stay where they're at. So then that employer is going to be at the mercy of who's ever applying. So if you are applying because you have enough guts to apply, and you're just putting that whole thing aside, that poor pity party me, no one wants to hire or take me under their wing, or it has to be that way. I can't stand it when I see those comments that way, that, oh, the industry has to change. Okay, if you want the industry to change so bad, then you need to get into leadership and make the industry change. Until then, it's not. It's going to stay the exact same way. And it's going to stay the exact same way until these schools are held accountable for putting these people out and just teaching them how to hurry up and pass the test. Or getting these programs that are really short and pumping out these people. And, 4 months to learn medical billing and coding. And then trying to get them to get their certification, teaching them how to pass. And then getting them out there when they're not even ready. And it's all about personal accountability. So that's the thing that I will always say. And again, people are going to get upset about that. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me because at the end of the day, it's those patients that matter to me. And those patients deserve to have people who are competent when they get into this field. So not allowing barriers like seeing ICD-9 to stop us, not allowing the time requirement for experience to stop us, okay, and still just applying anyway, because we are bringing brand new training and not experience, but brand new training and transferable skill, okay, so that I want to say there. So don't let any of those things deter you, the time requirement, the ICD-9 requirement. Now, sometimes you may see ICD-9/ICD-10. Again, when we were on that cusp of starting in ICD-10 CM, you would see a lot of those ads out there like that, ICD-9 and ICD-10, because they wanted to make sure that you could still help while we were using ICD-9 codes, but that you were going to be ready for the transition to ICD-10. So that's why they have it like that. So just keep that in mind when you're out there applying. Go ahead and keep applying anyway. All right. And again, for you to air out, oh, I'm so frustrated on the internet, especially if you're on LinkedIn doing that, that is the worst place, because that is the home of your future coworkers. Your boss may be there. And for me personally, if I am a hiring manager, which that is not my role, but if I am, and I go on LinkedIn and I look at your LinkedIn profile and I see that you've been complaining, I'm not going to want you in my department because you're a complainer, instead of actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is educating yourself and getting your knowledge down. That's what you need to be doing, period. There's no excuse for any of these other foolishness out there, okay? So with that said, I'm going to leave that right there. Now, a lot of people will ask about ICD-11. Oh my gosh, when do we have to learn that? Let me tell you guys something. ICD-10 was out in the 90s, okay? It was out in the 90s. And it wasn't until October 1, 2015 that we actually got it implemented here in the United States to actually use on a regular basis with everybody, right? So up until then, it was only applied in certain things, and then it was, because the causes of morbidity was the only reason that it was being used. And then, of course, it was with the other foreign countries that were using ICD-10 already. So if you're worried about, oh my gosh, now ICD-11 is going to come out, there is no timeline for ICD-11 to come out. So that's not a focus that you need to have. Yes, there are some people or in some companies that are putting out, oh, this is what it looks like. And that's fine. You can look at those, but that's really not where you need to focus your energy. You need to be focusing your energy on ICD-10, because a lot of people can't even, they have a hard time mastering that, right? They have a hard time mastering that. So don't think that it's going to be a rapid turnover, because as we see with the health insurance situation here in the United States, we all see that this is a topic that is hotly debated. Let's just say it like that, right? So when you think about the codes and everything else that is being used and stuff like that, we still have a long ways to go. It would not surprise me if I don't see ICD-11 in my career. That's how much of a pushback that ICD-11 gets. ICD-10 got pushback for years. They were trying to implement it in the 90s for regular use, and they could not do it. And so that's the thing that you guys have to understand. These things do not move fast. There will always be advocates for no changes, and that they want to keep that because it was advocates for no change with ICD-9. They were saying, oh, there was not going to be enough people to cover. And, you know, a lot of people were getting scared of ICD-10. So there was a lot of people that retired. At my facility, we did have some people retire. They said, I'm not learning this. And they retired as soon as sun set on ICD-9, and they were ready to go for retirement. They were like, I'm not going to stay for this. And so they were out the door, you know. And so we are still a long ways from that. I wish people wouldn't get distracted with things that are not going to have any impact within the next decade. ICD-11 is not going to have any impact within the next decade. And that's just my own personal opinion, okay? We will know, okay? And I could be wrong, but we will know in advance. There will be rumblings. There was certainly rumblings of ICD-10 long before. We knew that there was a really big push. Up until the 5 years that it was implemented, there was a huge push for it, but it kept getting pushback because there was these provider groups that were saying, well, we don't have the staff and we have to send our stuff overseas and there's not enough people to cover down for us. And there was a lot of people that thought that American coders were not going to be able to pick up ICD-10 as quickly, and we proved them wrong, okay? So that's the thing. We had a very easy transition into ICD-10. It was not bad. At my facility, we were doing training for ICD-10 a year prior. And some people in our facility had almost 2 years prior of training. And so that they became subject matter experts and they were able to help us in our transition. And we had a wonderful team. And not only that, I had training at my facility. I was also very fortunate to be trained in a separate program at home. So I had double the training, and I was able to prepare myself for this new challenge of ICD-10. I was not scared of it. And because I had the double training, I didn't struggle with the transition, especially with the injury coding. That I understood right away. I was really good with the injury coding, and particularly sequela, because a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I don't understand this and it's confusing, and they would get all worked up. But I like it. And what my program did not teach me at work, the program that I was in at home was able to fill in those gaps. So that's something that you may find yourself in the future, as far as like when they start pushing that out, and when we do have a definitive timeline, that's when you can be able to start collecting your resources and, you know, being able to go through those trainings and things like that. And you may have training provided by your facility. You may find other trainings that you may have to pay out of pocket for, you know, but this is an investment in your knowledge. There's no excuse to not invest in your own knowledge. And sometimes these things are really cost effective, and some of them are a little bit more expensive. So it really all depends. But if you're getting training from your job, and usually they do, because almost every employer that I knew was offering training at the time when we were transitioning from ICD-9 to ICD-10. So I anticipate that would be the case for the future as well. I don't think that it would be any different, okay? So that's the thing, that you guys don't have to panic about ICD-11. But what you do need to know with these job listings is that all the things that they have on these job listings, you do not have to meet all of the requirements or everything that they want. Well, Blue, it's rejecting my resume. There's many reasons why people's resume gets rejected, and a lot of times it has to do with it's just poorly written. Sometimes these resumes that people submit, they're 3 or 4 or 5 pages. That's automatically going to get you rejected, because that is unacceptable. Your resume should be on 1 page. There are many free templates out there that can help you as far as like setting up and formatting your resume. I do not recommend the formatted resume out there that is for medical coding, because it is just poorly put together as well. So that's the one that's floating around out there on the internet. It's already completed. It's just poorly put together because I think AI put it together. And guys, you cannot be relying on AI to be doing all these things for you. There are so many errors still with AI. So many errors. It does not have the ability to critical think. It only thinks in ones and zeros. And it only thinks the way that it is programmed to do things. It doesn't have critical thinking. This is why you need to write it yourself. If you're not writing things yourself, you're at the mercy of whatever is out there. And when I see people, like, I'll see them, like, because it was just Halloween, and I would see a lot of these, they have like these little meme looking things, right? And so they would put injury codes based on, for like a Dracula bite, right? But they wouldn't put the full code, but they would just cut it off, and they would put A at the end. They wouldn't put the placeholders of X in there. So this is an incomplete code, but people think it's so cute, right? Because it's a little cartoon, and then it's shared a bunch of times. This is an incorrect code that you're sharing that you think is cute. And it's an incomplete code, so it's an invalid code, and that's what you're sharing out there. And that's what people share because it's really quick and, oh, it's so cute. And they think that it's correct, and that's actually not correct. So again, this is AI playing its game. A lot of people say, you just put in a few words and it'll come up with this little image and things like that. And, oh yeah, that's cute. No, it isn't. It's not cute when it's sharing incorrect information. And I don't care how minor you think it is. Trust me, those little minor errors get out there into the internet world. And then all of a sudden people are thinking that that's the way that it is. And it's not. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to know today, is that we are not in any immediate, oh my gosh, ICD-11 is coming out. We're not in anywhere near it. There is no formal implementation on the horizon. You can check CMS for that. You can check any of these other reputable resources out there about that, and you will see that it is nowhere near on our horizon. We have other things to focus on, okay? Right now, we are in the thick of ICD-10. So if you are studying this, if you're learning it now, that's where we are. Don't worry about the far future. When we get there, we will get there. Okay, if it is within the next decade, it's within the next decade. You rise to meet the challenge of learning ICD-10. That you can certainly rise to learn ICD-11 when the time comes. But in the meantime, in between time, you need to focus on what you have now, which is learning your guidelines and making sure that you have those down. You don't have to memorize them because they update all the time, but you want to make sure that you have a good grasp of them and you know where to find your answers. Okay, so with that said, there is no ICD-9. And does it help to put ICD-9 on your resume? Actually, no, it doesn't, because what it does is it dates you. So your resume should only go back 10 to 15 years, period. That's it. No more than that. If you go back further than that, you're dating yourself, okay? And while these employers are not allowed to discriminate on age, we want to make sure that we put our best foot forward. We want them to be interested in us. And the other things that we have done, if you have no coding background, the other things that we have done, there's transferable skill there. I've talked about that several times with, people who work with the PTA, people who are homemakers, people who work in food service, people who work in like the Dollar General and retail and things like that. And if you're a prayer warrior, these are all things that are transferable. And this advice is found throughout my videos. I have over 1,500 videos on my channel, guys. Anything and everything you could have ever wanted to learn, you could learn just by going through my videos. Literally. And so when please don't ask for additional advice when I'm giving plenty of advice in the video. And if you're looking for a particular subject, you can actually go to Google and you can Google medical coding with blue resume tips, and all my videos will pop up. Medical coding with blue Z codes. And you'll see all those videos that I've done about Z codes. Medical coding with blue sequencing. You'll see all the sequencing videos that I have done. So you don't even have to go through my videos. My videos on YouTube. You can actually just go to Google and to be able to look those up. It is that simple, guys. It is that simple. It's the internet has made things really easy. And so again, I shouldn't have to be asked what additional advice do you have when my videos are quite comprehensive on the advice that I do give. Okay. And sometimes when people say, well, I watched the same video that you did a year ago, is your advice going to be the same? My cadence almost always stays the same. I think 99.999% of the things that I have said on this channel, I would still say today. There is one thing that I have said on this channel that I will not repeat again, but somebody that I know and who I respect had recommended a product. And I said, okay, well, if they recommend this product, this should be good. I should be good to go on recommending it. No, I don't think so. Because when I saw their product, I was like, oh, no. No. So I will never do that again. Never, with that said, 99.999% of the things that I say, I'm going to continue to say those the same way. Okay. Just the energy might be a little bit different. I might be a little bit more giggly in some of these videos, When I giggle, it's because my heart is happy, and some people just can't stand that. I don't know why. I think it's stupid, but whatever, So with that said, that's what you should know, guys. ICD-9 is nowhere in use anymore. Nowhere in the world, okay? In other countries, yes, they are using ICD-11, but we are nowhere near implementation. That would require a massive undertaking of updating the electronic health record and all of these things, and we are nowhere near that. We have a problem right now with health insurance in the United States. We need to get that sorted and situated before we start changing the codes that we're using to report these conditions. At least this is my advice anyway. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.